Okay, so let us start for today. So question 32 जाए last class देखी थे ना. The next is question 33. The location of sugar industry in India is moving from north to south because of the option पे देखी देला टिके common sense use कला हमें आंसर को arrive कर जीवा. ये cheap and uninterrupted supply of power. Right. So location of sugar industry moving from North India to South India because they cheap and uninterrupted supply power. So throughout India, power is subsidized for agriculture. Okay. So north south with there is difference nahi. So option A is not the answer. Okay. High labor cost. तो कौची जे South India को पड़ेची because North India रे high labor cost अच्छी. This is actually opposite of the case. जे because North India रे हमको cheap labor मिले. Because we have high population in areas of UP and Bihar and in the tribal areas of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, we can find cheap labor there. Okay. So this statement is contradictory to the question. Okay. So option B तो हब ही नहीं. Well developed rail network. Okay. So uh, rail network is equitably distributed throughout India. सेमती north और south भीतर सेमती किसी discrimination नहीं. तो A option टा भी नुह. Then high yield and high sugar content in sugarcane. Okay. So एटा ही answer हब. एटा ही answer हब. High yield and high sugar content in sugarcane. Alright. तो sugarcane रो टिके हमें देखी रहा जेतु sugar industry ऊपर पचार जी. तो sugarcane is a crop. टिके देखी रहा sugarcane रो केमती कोण. Conditions for growth of sugarcane. Sugarcane, tropical crop requiring a hot and humid climate. Hot is 21 to 27 degree, humid is 75 to 150 cm of rainfall. Okay. तो 10 to 18 मास लागे ताकू to mature the sugarcane crop. All right. तो तार gestation period is long for 10 to 18 months लागी जाए. Okay. So excess rainfall हेले कौन होबो तार sugar content कमी जाए. Low rainfall हेले कौन होबो तार cane fibrous हो जाए. मान तार sugarcane juice टा बेसी बाहर तार fiber बेसी था. Okay, सुखीला sugarcane ही जाता है. Okay, so sugar beet is a temperate alternative. Okay, so temperate area रे sugar beet is also used as a alternative to the sugarcane crop. Okay, sugar beet is also a sweetener. Okay, जोटी sugar can grow हुए this root is used as an alternative crop. Okay, the temperature जेम देखिले about 20 degree above 20 degree जेम हमें देखिले 21 to 27 degree. Clear skies in the later crop stage to thicken juice. Okay, तो crop रा जतवाले first तो initially this is a water intensive crop, but तार जतवाले grow करी जाए तो it will take water automatically according to its needs. Okay, तो बेसी irrigation दरकार नहीं. Okay. So, all right. So, ideal conditions are cool, dry winter during ripening and harvesting. Frost is harmful, must be avoided by harvesting. Okay. So, north re eight out a problem ଅଛି. Frost, man, we know that north re टिके north area because North India is a continental area where the moderating effect of monsoon, sorry, moderating effect of ocean is absent. Okay. So, that's winters are harsh, summer are also harsh. Okay. तो समर रे तमरो हॉट एंड ड्राई विंड्स जोटा कि लूप हुए विंटर रे फ्रॉस्ट जेमती हुए तो दीज एई जिंस गुडा हेले सुगर केन रो क्वालिटी कमी जीवो. ओके, हॉट ड्राई विंड्स तार सुगर कंटेंट कमी जीवो, फाइब्रस केन हबो. फ्रॉस्ट हेले तार सुगर क्रेप भी दैट इज हार्मफुल फॉर द क्रॉप. ओके, so hot dry winds damage the crop. Okay, these type of extreme conditions are absent in South India, thus favoring sugarcane cultivation. Okay, then monsoon winds in coastal plains and western ghats can damage the crops also. Okay, so these areas are generally avoided. देखो कोस्टल एरिया रे पानी तो बहुत अच्छी सफिशिएंट अच्छी बट ड्यू टू winds. Okay, because the monsoon winds they travel through the coastal areas. Okay, means they travel strongly through coastal areas. पूरा एरिया तो कवर करे बट कोस्टल एरिया स्ट्रांगली दे ट्रैवल. ओके, एंड अगेन कोस्टल एरिया रे साइक्लोन रो भी रिस्क अछि. ओके, so these are grown interior of South India. Okay, soil can grow in any moisture retentive soil, but this soil depletes fertility over time. Again, flat, plain or level patches are ideal. They help in irrigation and cane transport. All right, the labor cheap and abundant labor दरकार. South India रे कौन पाई पड़ुची? Initially, South lacked perennial rivers and adequate irrigation. Okay, unlike the North. Okay, North रे perennial river अछि, South रे these rivers are ephemeral. Okay, so initially South lacked perennial rivers, but now irrigation has improved and competition for land from other cash crops like cotton, tobacco, groundnut, coconut, right, and favorable weather. No dew and frost. Okay, this is a very important reason for shifting cultivation of sugarcane to South India. Extensive irrigation development has improved cultivation. Ability of a long year crossing season is also a major advantage. Okay, तो देखो तुम जैसे नॉर्थ इंडिया रे तुमरा जो एक्सेस विंटर की एक्सेस समर रे तुम क्रॉप तुम ग्रो कर परिबनी. ओके, तो सेही टाइम रे जो शुगर मिल गुडा थाए those will remain dysfunctional throughout those times. Okay, but south advantage कोन जेहेतु its climate is constant throughout the year, सेमती किसी drastic variation नहीं, तो year wise sugar can yield ହେଇ परिबो, year wise the sugar can mills can run throughout the year. तो केते केते जो extreme climate रे ସେମାନେ बसिबेनी, ideal बसिबेनी. Okay, so this is also a factor. Okay, sugar can mills can run throughout the year in South India, and increased cultivation has led to more sugar cane mills being set up in the region. Okay, so ତମେ ଦେଖିଲେ ଯେମିତି north ରେ because of excess conditions mills have shifted to south. Okay, north ରେ due to inclement weather. All right, ତ ଟିକେ ଦେଖିଦବ ଡାଟା ଟିକେ sugar cane ଏଇଟା ଗୋଟେ careful ଦେଖିଦବ. sugar cane area wise ଯଦି ତମେ ଦେଖିବ, area wise ଦେଖିଲେ UP is the top 45%. Okay, area wise UP has 45% under arable area dedicated to sugarcane. Okay, so UP is first. Okay, second is Maharashtra area wise. All right, out production of sugarcane देखिले, production of sugarcane भी देखिले, UP contributes 44% of production of sugarcane. Okay, second is Maharashtra. Please note this fact. Okay, ଆଉ ଯଦି ଆମେ yield wise ଦେଖିବା, state wise yield of sugarcane, yield wise ଦେଖିଲେ Tamil Nadu is the first, Karnataka comes second, then Maharashtra, UP seventh number आସୁଛି. Okay, तो question ଯେମିତି ପଚାରିଥିଲା, ठीक है, location of sugarcane industry is moving to south. Okay, because of high yield, जोटा कि ଆମେ डाटा रे भी देखि पारुछे. Okay, high yield, why high yield? Because sugar content ही high ଅଛି ता cane रे. All right, so area wise तमे जदि देखियो, UP has the most 45% of arable area dedicated to sugarcane. Production wise जदि देखियो, UP is the first, but yield wise देखियो Tamil Nadu is the first. Okay, এটা 2022-23 data, and I have sourced this data from E&S, Directorate of Economics and Statistics, and Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmer Welfare, DSE. Okay, Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmer Welfare. So a data that is valid for today also. All right, so this is the case for sugarcane cultivation. All right, so let's go to the next question. Lebesrom was coined by. Okay, तो चार्टा ऑप्शन अछि, तो एटा ज्योग्राफी ऑप्शनल क्वेश्चन मटे भी तमे एटा ओपीएससी एक्चुअली ए 2017 में बहुत गुडा ऑप्शनल भी क्वेश्चन पचारछि. सो आई डोंट नो व्हाई, बट देट पचारछि हमें देखि दबा खाली. ओके, so the answer is Friedrich Ratzel. The Ratzel को ऊपर टिके देखि दबा. Who was he? Term Lebesrom was coined by German geographer Friedrich Ratzel. Okay, so what he said that he drew a parallel between an organism and a nation. Okay, तो गोटे organism जतबेले develop करे, जतबेले grow करे, mature करे, तो it needs more resources and more space for its optimal growth. Okay, so similarly गोटे nation जतबेले बढ़े, तार territory बढ़े, so it needs more area. Okay, to conquer, so that it will get more resources and its people can develop. Okay, so Ratzel said that he drew parallel between a biological organism that गोटे develop करिया सहित गोटे territory भी expand करिया दरकार. Okay, so later during the time of World War, this term was distorted by the Nazi regime in Germany, who used it as a justification for aggressive territorial expansion and subjugation of other nations. Okay, so this term Lebesrom was misused by the Nazi regime. Okay, this is also linked to the जे गोटे organism ଯେତେବେଳେ develop କରିବ, ତା ଯେମିତି ତାକୁ ଅଧିକା space ଦରକାର, resources ଦରକାର, ସେମିତି ଗୋଟେ nation develop କରିବା ପାଇଁ ତାକୁ ବି resources ଦରକାର. Okay, so you can draw parallels from this and Kautilya. Okay, Kautilya, Chanakya, he also said that king should go to acquire land. Okay, राजा होची भिजिकिसु, ତାଙ୍କର ଦାୟିତ୍ୱ ହଉଛି ଯୁଦ୍ଧ କରିବା ଆଉ land acquire କରିବା, because for the welfare of the people and in the interest of nation. Okay, so Lebesrom can be linked to Kautilya also. Okay, now comes the option Mackinder. Okay, so Mackinder ମୁଁ ପୁରା ବହୁତ detail ରେ କରିଦେଇଛି. So because Mackinder has appeared twice in this same year question. Okay, तो आम देखिए नेक्स्ट कोटी आछि तो मैकेंडर ऊपर टे देखदबा सो मैकेंडर ही वाज आल्सो ए जियोग्राफर ओके he was also a geographer he analyzed that during world war 1 so देखो मैकेंडर रो गोटे thesis होजी he attributed supremacy to land power okay ସେ କହିଥିଲେ ଯେ the one who ଆମେ ଦେଖିଦବା ସେ କଣ କହିଥିଲେ ଓକେ so uh, during World War One, British Navy could not enter into Black Sea and the Baltic Sea because of German resistance. Okay, so British Navy was successfully stopped by the German resistance in Black Sea and Baltic Sea. जोड़ा मैं highlight करने किसी पढ़िया दरकार नहीं. Okay, so he emphasized that the importance of land power. Okay, and defined the heartland as a region where sea power can be denied entry. Okay, so जेहेतु वर्ल्ड वार टाइम रो एटा थ्योरी तो से वर्ल्ड वार टाइम में जेमती हमरो जो रशिया यूएसए द ईस्ट वर्सेस वेस्ट जेमती चलतला तो से सेही कॉन्टेक्स्ट को एनालाइज करिकी से कहिसेंती जे रशिया इज द हार्टलैंड ओके Okay, so Russia is the heartland. This is the heartland. Okay, Russia is the heartland. Why he has called it heartland? Why that she କହିଛନ୍ତି ଯେ one who controls the heartland will control the world. Okay, because this heartland is a vast area. ତ ଏଠି ଏରିଆ ଅଛି ଲୋକଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସ୍ପେସ୍ ବସିବା ପାଇଁ ସେଟଲମେଣ୍ଟ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ସ୍ପେସ୍ ଅଛି ଆଡିକୁଏଟ ନ୍ୟାଚୁରାଲ ରିସୋର୍ସେସ୍ ଅଛି ଇରିଗେସନ ପାଇଁ ପୋଟେନସିଆଲ ଅଛି ଷ୍ଟେପିଜ ହଉ ଗ୍ରାସଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡସ୍ ହଉ ଇରିଗେସନ ପାଇଁ ପୋଟେନସିଆଲ ଅଛି ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କର ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରିଆଲ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ପାଇଁ ବି ରିସୋର୍ସେସ୍ ଅଛି ତାଙ୍କର ବଟ୍ ତାଙ୍କର ଏପଟେ ପୋର୍ଟ ଫ୍ୟାସିଲିଟି କିଛି କିଛି ଅଛି ବଟ୍ ପୁରା ବି ନାହିଁ ତ ବିକଜ ଅଫ ଦିସ୍ ଥିଙ୍ଗସ୍ ୱାନ୍ ହୁ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ୍ସ ଦିସ୍ ମଚ୍ ଏରିଆ ତ ଯିଏ ଏତେ ବଡ ଏରିଆଟାକୁ ଏକୁଟିଆ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରିବ that nation will be the most powerful. Okay, so his heartland theory. Okay, Mackinder convinced that East European region was the okay. Sorry. Okay, so Mackinder said, "Who rules East Europe commands the heartland." Okay, so Eastern Europe को जे control करिवो this area ए एरिया को जे कंट्रोल करिवो ये हार्टलैंड को डिनाई कर परिवो सी एक्सेस ओके so one who controls this area will control the heartland okay one who controls East Europe controls the heartland. One who rules the heartland commands the world island. Okay. One who commands the world island commands the world. Okay. World island बोली exactly जो world island बोली entire area रा जो world सारा जो भी सब land mass अच्छी और especially this area. Okay. This heartland. Okay. This is a very powerful area. If someone captures this, then their powers will increase exponentially. Okay. So ସେ କହିଥିଲେ ଯେ ଏଇ ଏରିଆକୁ ଯିଏ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରିବ ଏଇ ଏରିଆକୁ କିଏ ହାର୍ଟଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ ଚାରିପଟୁ ଯିଏ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରିବ ସିଏ ହାର୍ଟଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ କୁ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରିବ ଯିଏ ହାର୍ଟଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରିବ ସେ ୱାର୍ଲଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରିବ ଓକେ so so according to him that uh, Eastern Europe is the only power that can challenge heartland okay so Mackinder was convinced that East European region was the only corridor that can control the heartland and therefore an ambitious Germany can do it okay Germany ଚାହିଁଲେ control କରିପାରିବ heartland କୁ okay so again, Mackinder wanted the Eastern European land. Okay, this land to be not to be dominated by anyone to ensure peace. Okay, तो जेहेतु एरिया को जे कंट्रोल करिवो से हार्टलैंड को कंट्रोल कर परिवो तो एई एरिया रे केही पावर जे न रुहंतु बिकॉज वेस्टर्न इन्फ्लुएंस यूएसए रो एठी सी चाहिबो एई एरिया कंट्रोल करिया पई आ हार्टलैंड रे जे एबे अछि सी भी चाहिबो एरिया कंट्रोल करिया पई बिकॉज दिस इज द बफर स्टेट ओके एटा बफर एरिया so US ର sphere of influence is the midland Russia ର sphere of influence is the heartland this area should be vacant और एठी के powerful nation न रहिबा दरकार to ensure peace to avoid the collision between two superpowers okay so if USA wants to dominate the area then if USA wants to dominate the area so USA has dominated the area through expansion of NATO okay NATO and बाकी जो ये सब सेंट्रल एरिया रे रहिला जेंति तमरो सेंट्रल प्रोविंसेस काजाकिस्तान किर्गिस्तान हो कि ईरान सीरिया अफगानिस्तान ओके एरिया सब बड़े these are in crisis because superpowers are competing for their influence through proxy wars okay so one who controls this area तो ए एरिया टाको एरिया vacant रहिबा दरकार for the sake of world peace but एटा को के रखिया को देबेनी vacant they will try to capture okay so this area is unstable okay so Mackinder का main theory होची one who controls the heartland this land area को जे control करिवो से ही powerful हबो okay तो तांको against रे गोटे आछन स्पिकमैन आसिले स्पिकमैन so he gave his rimland theory okay स्पिकमैन का main thesis कोन जे जेमती मैकेंडर कहले one who controls the land area will become most powerful. Speakman said one who controls the sea. Okay, sea control gives power. Okay, so एटा geography optional PSR optional जिनस गुड़ा बट जेहेतु पचार तो मुझे कही दूसरी खाली ओके किसी डिटेल पढ़िया दरकार नहीं जी कहूँ समराइज जान दियो आ किसी बेसी डिटेल दरकार नहीं ओके स्पीकमैन केम एज ए reaction to the heartland concept. Okay. So he said it is the sea power that has made possible to conceive Europe as a single geographical entity. Okay. He objected to the fact that land power is land. He objected to that heartland theory, and he said that land power has following limitations. Okay. The actual extent of agri. Yes. Just a second. Actual extent of agricultural land is very limited. Okay. So ये जो heartland जो मैकेंडर concept ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି heartland तो एटी limited agriculture अच्छी. Okay. Agricultural land सबुठी भी नहीं because एटी swamp area भी अच्छी Siberia रो. Okay. The actual agricultural land is very limited and heartland is incapable of supporting a huge population. Again, harsh climate and difficult terrain prevents the is the greatest obstacle in development of transport lines. Okay. And extraction of resources. Okay. So heartland रे एमती challenge अच्छी. Okay. तो सीए कहले जे तमरा rimland concept देले okay this is the rimland that surrounds the heartland okay ये कहले जे one who controls the sea area जे sea को control कर परियो that person will control the rimland and one who controls the rimland will control the heartland. All right. So he has given supremacy to sea power. Okay. So due to sea power, the old and new worlds have united. Okay. This west and east and west. And Mackinder. Okay. So Mackinder generally believe that steppies could be transformed into areas of high economic productivity. But Speakman has said that Mackinder that this is steppies इतने productive नुहा huge population को sustain करी परिवे. Okay. So there is low percentage of agrarian land, and due to growing importance of sea, air, and automobile transport, okay. So it was the rimland that can be controlled through sea. And he said, one who controls the rimland controls Eurasia. One who controls Eurasia rules the destinies of the world. Okay. So sea power को से बेसी importance दीचंदी. Okay. जे sea को control करिवो, से rimland को control करिवो, जे rimland को control करिवो, से heartland को भी control करिवो. Okay. So that is the basic idea. Okay. Again, okay, so at a World War time of theories, okay, Speakman advocated that allies should design their future policies to prevent any consolidation of Rimland, okay, by the enemy. Russia jemti Rimland control no kuru. So USA designed its containment policy, okay. So expansion, USA wanted to stop the expansion of communism, okay. Inspired by this Rimland theory of Speakman, okay. This focus was the, and again, USA floated the NATO concept to contain the expansion of communism also. Okay, with the end of Cold War, Speakman's concept has lost its relevance. Okay, so this is all about Speakman and Mackinder. All right. Now, dita option ଅଛି. Peter Taylor, okay, Peter Taylor and David Harvey. So both are from United Kingdom, Britain. Okay, so these are very recent scholars. Okay, geography optional maybe semana ଜାଣିଥିବେ. Okay, so Peter Taylor, he is a he has analyzed the world systems theory. Okay, world systems theory, and he has said that he is a critic of globalization. Okay, he has said that globalization and its impact on state and locality, he has studied that, and he has studied the interconnectedness of global processes and their special manifestations. Okay, so he is a geographer dealing with special geography. Okay, so it will be important to know GS for GS purposes. Again, David Harvey, he is also a geographer influenced by Marxism. Okay, from UK. He influenced by Marxism. He is also a critic of capitalism. So he has analyzed how capitalism shapes the urbanization processes and global development. All right. So these are geography optional scholars. Okay. So, yeah, right. So next question. The spread of cultural traits from one region to another is called. Okay. So this may be a sociology optional question also, but तमे जदि टिके ऑप्शन देखियो नो टिके कॉमन सेंस यूज करियो तमे जानि परिबो. ओके आंसर. सो डिफ्यूजन मे बी हेई पारे. फिशन, सो फिशन तो नुह, फिशन माने होची दीटा जिंस आसी कि मिसिबे तापरे गोटे नुआ जिंस तयारी करिवे. जेमति न्यूक्लियर फिशन तमे पढिछ. न्यूक्लियर फिशन और फ्यूजन. ओके. सॉरी दैट इज एटा होची फ्यूजन. सॉरी मोटा फ्यूजन कहि देली. फिशन इज दीटा गोटे जिंस अछि ताकू bombardment कराहबो through an abrasive element and it will divide into smaller particles. Okay, this is fission. Fission माने division हवा. फ्यूजन टा होची मिसिबा, दिस इज फिशन डिवीजन ओके। ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ओके, ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन केमती, बिकॉज ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन तो हबनी, फिशन तो आम जेन देखिला हबनी, ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन मींस गोटे जिंस transforms to something else okay, but question पचार diffusion of trade from one region to another, not the transformation of trades okay, the transformation of one transmission may be ହେଇପାରେ, but this transmission terms sound quite mechanical okay, quite mechanical तमे जानते AT&C losses जेमती हुए तमरो okay, transmission loss जोटा कि electrical रा okay, so diffusion is the most likely answer okay, cultural diffusion okay, cultural diffusion concept उटा अछि sociology रा, and this is the definition of cultural diffusion that has been asked right, cultural transmission सेमती नहीं, cultural diffusion okay, diffusion जेमती गोटे एरिया रे आउट एरिया को कल्चर गला okay, so now the next question, one belt and one road policy okay, it's related to China as you all know, China, so one belt and one road policy, this was started by China in 2013. So why it was started, it China wanted to create the new silk route okay, ଆମର ଯେମିତି ଆଗରୁ ancient ରେ silk route ଥିଲା, so China wants to create the new silk road, so China wants to export its capital and construction over capacity to third world countries and to European countries also okay, so China wants to revamp the old trade routes and gain access to the natural resources of all the countries okay, especially Africa and the market access to European countries, so ତମେ ଦେଖିଦବ ଏଇଟା overland route of belt and road initiative okay, जोटा कि land area and maritime route of belt and road initiative, this is the maritime area जोटा कि तार गोटे चाइना रो प्लान अछि पूरा एंटायर एरिया टाକୁ कंट्रोल करिवा ओके, you can also link China strategy to the rimland theory of Speakman okay, rimland theory of Speakman कोन तमर जिंती एटा तो रशिया गला, रशिया इज द हार्टलैंड, तो रशिया कॉर्डर जोटा रहला दिस इज द rimland, तो rimland को कंट्रोल करिया पड़िबो, rimland केमती कंट्रोल करि परियो, वन कंट्रोल द सीज आल्सो ओके, तो सी कंपोनेंट भी अच्छी तार चाइना रो ओके, तो सी को फास्ट कंट्रोल करा जीवो, कनेक्टिंग रूट्स गुडा को कंट्रोल निया जीवो, चोक पॉइंट्स लाइक सुएज कैनाल, दिस इज द बाब अल मंडप, स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज ओके, तो ए सी एक्सेस गुडा बिकॉज़ सी रूट इज यूज्ड मोस्टली फॉर ट्रेड पर्पसेस ओके, तो जे सी को कंट्रोल करिवो, ट्रेड को कंट्रोल करिवो, जे ट्रेड को कंट्रोल करिवो इकोनॉमी को कंट्रोल करिवो, जे इकोनॉमी कंट्रोल करिवो दैट विल बी द सुपर पावर ओके, so Chinese expansion can also be linked to the Mackinder and Sweetman's theory okay, so now comes the next question, major division of agricultural regions of world is associated with okay, so again देखो एवढा भी से agricultural ए जो sorry geography optional रो scholars these are okay, but जेतु देइजी हमें एटा को टिके देखि दबा okay, so answer is Whittlesey okay, division of agricultural regions of the world right, so Whittlesey world agricultural systems okay, the agricultural so he has used some indicators to divide the agricultural systems into 13 regions okay, the nomadic herding, livestock ranching, shifting cultivation, rudimentary tillage, intensive tillage okay, commercial plantation, Mediterranean okay, so 13 types of world agricultural regions have been identified by Whittlesey okay, then comes the von Thunen, so von Thunen, so he has given his agricultural location theory. Okay. So तांको हिसाब रे so this is the city center. City पाखरे जो सब land अच्छी तो सेठी तमे intensive agriculture करिवो. Why? Because city is the market where you will sell your goods. तो intensive agriculture कले bulk production कले you will तमे low transport cost रे तमे bulk produce को sell कर परिवो. Okay. तो जेमती market gardening, milk production. Okay. So these are sorry. This is the city center. Okay. हाँ. Market gardening हो, milk production. Market gardening means horticulture, fruit production. Okay. फ्रुट जदि तमे बेसी तयारी करियो बिकॉज़ फ्रुट्स आर पेरिसेबल तो तमे ताको जल्दी सेल करिया पड़ियो तो सिटी पाखरे ही करिवो टिके सिटी रो दूर हेले तमे जेमती फायर उडा लंबरिंग रे एंगेज करिवो ओके आ टिके दूर हेले तमे ग्रेन्स कर परिवो फालो लैंड भी रखि परिवो ओके आ टिके दूर हेले तमरो ग्रेन्स अधिका फालो लैंड भी रखि परिवो अगेन सेम थिंग लाइक दिस ओके then threefold system माने वर्ष को किछि करिवो किछि छाडी दबो किछि करिवो किछि छाडी दबो ओके सो काई केमति करा होची बिकॉज तमे एई जगह रो जदि तमे दूर एरिया रे बेसी इंटेंसिव कल्टीवेशन कलो तुमको मार्केट सेंटर को ट्रांसपोर्ट करिवार तमरो कॉस्ट अधिका पड़ी जिवो ओके तो कॉस्ट जता अधिका पड़ी जिवो तम सेति के प्रॉफिट तमे उठे परिबनी मार्केट रे ओके देन पूरा लास्ट एरिया रे तमरो लाइफ स्टॉक रैंचिंग कर परियो ग्रेचिंग कर परियो ओके so he has given some these curves like this what is the market this is the distance from market this is the locational range means profit okay तो तमे सिटी पाखरे रहिले you should engage in intensive cultivation okay intensive cultivation bulk रे तमे प्रोड्यूस कलो सिटी मार्केट को नेलो नै कि बिकि दलो तमरा प्रॉफिट हाई रहइबो ओके जेहते तमरो डिस्टेंस बड़ी बड़ी चलिबो तमरा प्रॉफिट विल रिड्यूस बिकॉज़ द ट्रांसपोर्ट कॉस्ट विल बी हाई ओके तो जदि तमे जदि तमे बेसी अधिका दूर रे रही गला तल तुमको इट इज एडवाइज दैट यू शुड एंगेज इन एक्सटेंसिव कल्टीवेशन नॉट इंटेंसिव तमे जदि बेसी दूर रे रही इंटेंसिव कल्टीवेशन कल तो तुम्हारा प्रॉफिट बहुत कमी जीवो बिकॉज़ तुम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन रे सब खर्च पळेबो ओके तुम प्रॉफिट उठै परिबनी सेति ओके तो this is a model given by von Thusen how to plan your land according to the distance from market okay so von Thusen's model of agricultural location okay so uh, So this is about von Thusen. Mackinder देखो तुम 35 क्वेश्चन पचार था Mackinder आउट रे पचार ला तो that's why I have told about Mackinder in detail. Now OHK Spate. Okay. Spate is also a geographer. Okay. He is a geographer. He has favored the human geography. Okay. तो कौन हितला ना वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 पर जतल बहुत डिस्ट्रक्शन हितला तो सब डिसिप्लिन रो एक्सपर्ट्स मान को डका हितला सो टू contribute towards rebuilding of societies okay तो सेतेबेले जियोग्राफर मानकर गोटे जियोग्राफर मानकर आ पॉलिटिकल साइंस आल्सो सेमानकर गोटे क्राइसिस आस्तला जे व्हाट ऑल वी कैन कंट्रीब्यूट ओके सो सम सेड दैट वी शुड अडॉप्ट because सेतेबेले इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन साइंटिफिक रिवोल्यूशन चलतला so we should adopt scientific methods okay to tell our theories okay so that that phase is was called the quantitative revolution okay quantitative revolution means to make the discipline multidisciplinary by integrating concepts of statistics, science into geography. Okay, but ତାଙ୍କର ପୁଣି proponents opponents ବି ରହିଲେ ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କର supporters ବି ରହିଲେ. So OHK Spate he was a opposer. He opposed this scientific quantitative revolution of adopting scientific techniques into social sciences. Okay, so OHK Spate he said that. The use of methodology needs mathematical and scientific temperament of investigation, but geographers they are come from social science temperament and they may concede fatal errors in judgment. Okay, so he was against inculcating scientific methods into social sciences. Okay, okay, so views of Spate cannot be ignored. So he is a geographer basically. Okay, so according to Dudley Storm, okay, and OHK Spate, maps speak for themselves. There is no need to bring other scientific techniques. Okay, so he was against bringing technicalities into social sciences. Okay, so 37 question wala. Next 39 question. Okay, so देखो ये सब spelling mistake. Geographical process जेमती किसी word ही नहीं. Okay, so this should be geophysical process. Geophysical process. Okay. So option ଯାହା ଦେଇଛି processes that shape the earth surface କି surface ପଚାରିଛି surface ଯେହେତୁ ପଚାରିଛି that is geomorphic process ତ ତମର NCERT ରେ direct ଅଛି ଏଇ ଜିନିଷଟା definition so what are geomorphic process the endogenic and exogenetic forces cause physical stresses and chemical actions on earth okay thus bringing about change in the configuration of surface of earth okay which is called geomorphic process all right. So geomorphic process होगी it deals with the surface of earth okay what is geophysical process so geophysical process is concerned with earth's internal physical characteristics and dynamics okay it focuses on understanding physical properties internal processes okay like plate tectonics seismic activity earth magnetic field so geophysical process is dealt essentially by geology okay and geomorphic process is dealt by geography. Okay, so you can also say that geomorphic processes are a subset of geophysical process. That is true. Okay, but geophysical processes also study the interior of earth in more details, okay, than geography. So geomorphic process concerned with surface level processes that form and modify landforms, okay. So study landforms and natural mechanisms, okay, like weathering, erosion, deposition, mass wasting. Okay. So what is the relationship? Geophysical process act as driving process for geomorphic process. Okay. So exactly এই জিনিসটা যেটা এটি লেখা হয়েছে, this endogenetic process that are driven by geophysical process, they also have an effect on geomorphic process. Okay. ଯେମିତି tectonic upliftment ହେଲେ, this is a geophysical process. Mountain ହେଇଯିବ, okay. ଆଉ weathering ହେଇଗଲେ, okay, ଯୋଉଟା geomorphic process. Isostacy ବି ଗୋଟେ concept ଅଛି, okay. Isostacy, it is a geophysical process that drives geomorphic changes, okay. So এটা গলা geophysical process ଆଉ geomorphic process, okay. Hypographic process ଦେଇଛି, ଏଇଟା ବି again spelling mistake. Hypographic କିଛି ନୁହେଁ ନାହିଁ word, this is hydrographic. So hydrographic survey, hydrographic process. Okay. So what are hydrographic surveys? Hydrographics, it deals with process of gathering information about physical characteristics of water areas, like water depth kete achi, navigation kari hobo ki nahi, okay. Structures inside the water surface, okay, to create charts used by mariners. All right. So it is essential for offshore construction, exploration, and maintenance activities, okay, related to water bodies. Okay. So these are hydrographic processes that are used in hydrographic surveys. Okay. Tetrahydro process. So this is a made of statement. Okay. Made of statement. Tetrahydro mane charita hydrogen atoms. Okay. So এটা কোন কেমতি chemistry को आने की geography रे मिसी दिया है. So this is a made of statement purely. Okay. No need to see it. Answer is D. Earth surface is dealt with geomorphic process. Okay. So now comes the next question. U-shaped valley is formed by okay. So ମୁଁ ଏଥିରେ image attach करनी, but I will explain, okay. तो देखो तमरो जेमती river valley ଯେମିତି ତିଆରି ହୁଏ, river valley cuts through mountains and the river ଗୋଟେ path ନିଜ ପାଇଁ କରେ, so that path through mountains is called a river valley, okay. ତ ଯେମିତି so mountain ଅଛି, okay. Like suppose ଏମିତି mountain ଅଛି ତମର, ଯଦି river ଏମିତି ଯାଇଛି, okay. River ଏମିତି ଯାଇଛି course କରିକି, okay. So these are called truncated spurs, okay. So this is a river valley that flows through truncated spurs, ମାନେ the first river ଆସିଛି ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାକୁ, ଯୋଉ ଜାଗାରେ ପଥର କାଟି ହବ ସେ ପଥର କାଟିଛି, ଯୋଉ ଜାଗାରେ ପଥର କାଟି ହବନି ତା path change କରିଛି, it has meandered, okay. ତାପରେ ପୁଣି ଯୋଉ ଜାଗାରେ path ପଥର କାଟି ପାରିନି again meandering ହେଇଛି, ତ ଏମିତି meandering କରି କରି river valley କାଟିଛି, alright. ତ river valley କାଟିଛି, ତ ଗୋଟେ ଟାଇମରେ ତମେ ଜାଣିଛ earth goes through different stages. ଗୋଟେ ice age ହଉ, ତାପରେ global cooling, global warming, global cooling, global warming, ଏମିତି phase wise earth ର climate ଚାଲେ, okay. ତ କଣ ହେଇଛି ନା ଗୋଟେ ଟାଇମରେ ତମର ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ପାହାଡ ଯୋଉ ସବୁ ଅଛି, ଗୋଟେ କ୍ରସ୍ ସେକ୍ସନାଲ ଭିଉ ନେଇଯିବା ଏହାର, ତ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ କଣ ହବ, ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ତ ରିଭର ଚାଲିଛି, ତ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ୱିଥ ସପୋଜ ଯେବେ ଗ୍ଲୋବାଲ ଆଇସ୍ ଏଜ ଆସିଲା, ଓକେ, ତ ଏଥିରେ ସବୁ ଦିସ୍ ଏଣ୍ଟାୟାର ଏରିଆ ୱିଲ୍ ବି ଡିପୋଜିଟେଡ ୱିଥ ଆଇସ୍, ଓକେ. This entire area will be deposited with ice, okay. So ଯେତେବେଳେ ice formation ହେଇଯିବ, ତ ତମେ ଏଇଟା ବି ଜାଣ ତ ଗ୍ଲାସିୟର କେମିତି ଇରୋଜନ ପ୍ରୋସେସ କରେ, okay. So glacier is a big mass of ice. ତ ପାଣି ତ ତମେ ଜାଣିଛ ପାଣି ଇରୋଜନ କରେ, ସେ ପଥରକୁ ନେଇଯାଏ ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରୁ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାକୁ, depending on its stage, youth, mature or old stage, it's and according to its carrying capacity. तो river erosion करे, but glacier कौन हुए, glacier is a big chunk of ice, okay, big chunk of ice. तो ତା ତଳେ ସେ କଣ ହୁଏ, ତ ଏଇ ତାର suppose ଗୋଟେ point ରେ ଅଗରେ this is the melting point, okay, melting point, and suppose this is the freezing side, okay, freezing side. ତ ଏଇ point ରେ melt କରିବ, so ଯେହେତୁ melt କରିବ, the glacier will move, towards the melting point to compensate for the melting part. Okay, तो एठू move करिवो तो एपटू freezing भी हबो. Okay, so while moving under gravity हो कि under melting हो, while moving this glacier acquires stones in its path. Okay, तो एते pressure पडुची या ऊपर. Okay, तो जतक सब छोट छोट stone फोन धरजी तांको से धरी की चाले. Okay, by dragging the stones throughout the area, it makes many landforms. Okay, kori ho tamara airate ho. Okay, so these are glacial landforms because by ei jo stone guda rahuchanti, these act as teeth or abrasive. Okay, abrasive for glacial action to modify landform. All right, तो आमे देखिले एटा फास्ट थिला गोटे रिवर वैली थिला. तो एबे बहुत गोटे बरफ पड़ीगला, तापरे बहुत गोटे बरफ ହେଇଗଲା. एबे कोन हबो, the entire area will be this entire area will be subdued by a glacier. Okay, got a bigger chunk of ice. Okay, ebe river valley move karibani, this entire chunk will move. Okay, this entire chunk will move under gravity. Okay, when this entire chunk will move, it will erode this valley. Okay, ebe dekho eta emti thila truncated spurs. ebe kon habo, तो तमे फास्ट एमती थिला माउंटेन्स. ओके, एम थिला माउंटेन्स. एबे कोन एंटायर पूरा बरफ गोटे मास हला, दिस विल मूव. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस मूवमेंट इट विल इरोड थ्रू आउट दिस माउंटेन. ओके, ए जो माउंटेन गुडा जो रही छी ताकू इरोड करी चलिबो. ओके, तो आफ्टर इरोजन वी कैन सी. ओके, तो इरोजन हे गला परे बहुत टाइम परे वी विल सी अ लैंडफॉर्म लाइक दिस. ओके, लाइक एटा फास्ट वैली थिला, रिवर वैली एमती थिला. बट एबे ड्यू टू ग्लेशियल इरोजन गोटे बड़ वेल लाइक स्ट्रक्चर रहिबो. दिस वेल इज कॉल्ड यू शेप्ड वैली. ओके, तो एटा मु जानि जे मु ठीक से एक्सप्लेन करि पारलेनी. बट देखिए मु जदी हबो मु गोटे वीडियो तुमको करिकी पठे देबी विथ प्रॉपर एनिमेशन हाउ ए यू शेप्ड वैली इज बीइंग फॉर्म. ओके, तो तुम एटलिस्ट बुझी तो पारिथिबो जे जेहेतु ग्लेशियर गोटे एज ए बिग चंक ऑफ आइस जेहेतु मूव करे, तो गोटे बिग चंक ऑफ इरोजन से करी करी चलिबो. ओके, तो दैट बिग चंक ऑफ इरोजन आफ्टर मेल्टिंग ऑफ ग्लेशियर विल बिकम ए यू शेप्ड वैली. ओके, अगेन तापर यू शेप्ड वैली पर तमरो जदी गोटे ग्लेशियर बे सुकी जाइछि तो एते बड़ एरिया रे जदी गोटे रिवर पुनी फ्लो गला, दिस विल बी ए मिसफिट स्ट्रीम. ओके, misfit stream. और जदि तू जो जो जगह बेसी इरोजन हो जाइछि, this can become ribbon lakes. Okay, ribbon lakes and hanging valleys also. Okay, I will explain all these types of glacial landforms in a video, separate video. Okay, so U-shaped valley, answer is glacial erosion. Okay, now next question. Mist is formed as a result of, so एथिरे किछि कहिबार नै, this is a result of condensation, circulation, evaporation, sublimation. So sublimation, you know, that is direct transition from solid to gas without becoming liquid. Okay, so condensation एटा किछि कहिबार नै. Right, so which river is not a peninsular river पचारि. Okay, not a peninsular river, the answer is Ghagra. Okay, so India रे दी प्रकार रिवर अछंती. गोटे होचंदी हिमालयन रिवर और पेनिनसुला रिवर. Okay, Himalayan rivers, they originate from Himalayas, mainly from glaciers. Okay, from melting glaciers. Okay, snow fed. Okay, snow fed, they are also rain fed. They are perennial rivers. These are mainly rain fed. These are seasonal in nature. Okay, peninsular rivers, these are ephemeral. Okay, perennial. Okay, flow throughout the year. Seasonal, mainly during monsoons. Okay, peninsular rivers, they originate from peninsular plateaus and hill ranges. Okay, so terrain, they flow through deep valley, gorges, and wide floodplains. Okay, they have high erosion capacity. Okay, they go through youth, mature, and old phases. Okay, but this peninsular rivers, they flow through shallow valley and because of the hard and rocky terrain. Okay, तांका पारे mainly power भी नहीं. The terrain through which they flow is already hard. Okay, in the South India. Generally, long rivers comparatively short. Sediment load is high due to erosion in young fold mountains. Sediment load is low to medium because of stable and hard terrain. Okay, hard terrain अछि, ସେଥିରୁ sediment भी उठेई हबनी. Okay, course meandering and shifting due to soft alluvium and tectonic activity. Okay, these are stable. Again, irrigation potential very high. Moderate irrigation potential dependent on rainfall. Direction of flow generally north to south or southeast. This is the flow of Himalayan rivers. mostly eastward. This is the and flow westward. Okay, and some flow westward. Okay. So तमे जानते हो जंती इंडिया जते बेले तार watershed line हला watershed line has uh, led to the led to this phenomena. Okay, this flowing of rivers towards eastward. Okay, तो इंडिया जते बेले आसी कि जस्ट गोटे हम कहि दउची इंडिया जते बेले इंडिया केम एंड हिट द यूरेशियन प्लेट. ओके, गोटे लाइन पड़िला इंडिया रे. ओके, दिस इज अ क्रैक. दिस इज अ क्रैक that went throughout the Indian peninsula, Indian landmass. Okay, this crack is the watershed line of India. Okay, due to this watershed, due to this crack, this rift valleys of Vindhya and Satpura formed. Okay, and the rift valleys of Western Ghats formed. Okay, Western Ghats जब form हला तो गोटे पार्ट ऊपर को उठी गला, गोटे पार्ट ऊपर उठी गला, गोटे पार्ट तळे रही गला. तो एथि पई तमरो most of the rivers of peninsular India they flow towards east. Okay, and Narmada and Tapi they flow towards the west. Okay, so this is the watershed line of India. Alright. So delta formation, Himalayan form large delta due to high fish sediment load. Okay, and Narmada Tapi, Narmada Tapi they form estuaries. Okay, important rivers. So it kichi nahi out there. Ganga is the longest Himalayan river, and Godavari is the longest peninsular river. Okay, so this is important. This fact is important. Himalayan rivers are more prone to flooding due to high sediment load. Okay, so ऑप्शन रे जहाँ जो रिवर गोटे देछि घाघरा साबरमती तापी और नर्मदा. सो ठीक है देखि दवा. This is the location of Ghagra River. Okay, Ghagra River कौन अच्छी? Okay, so Ghagra River this originates near the sorry southeast of Mansarovar Lake in the Gurla Mandhata peak. Okay, एठो Ghagra River originate करची. It flows through Tibet, then through Nepal, and then enters as Ghagra in India. Okay, नेपाल रे घाघरा को कर्णाली रिवर कुहाउची आउ ताको टिबेट रे माक्चा सांको कुहाउची टिबेट रे. ओके, तार तीनटा ट्रिब्यूटरी अछंती. गोटे अछि राप्ती आउ गोटे अछि काली रिवर इज आल्सो कॉल्ड शारदा रिवर इन इंडिया. ओके, so these are the tributaries of Ghagra river. Okay, तापरे सब डिटेल लिखि देछि. कर्णाली रिवर, this is the Ghagra river in Nepal, also called Ghagra river. Okay, Tibet रे एटा कुहाउची. It is also called Sarayu. Okay, near Awadh. Okay, Sarayu जोटा कि तम रामायण रे अछि. Ayodhya is placed near Sarayu river. Okay, it is a perennial transboundary river, originates in the Makcha glacier near Mansarovar Lake. Okay, this Makcha glacier in the Gurla Mandhata peak. Okay, length tiki longest river in Nepal, largest tributary of Ganges by volume, and second largest tributary by length after Yamuna. Okay, the Sarayu river, also known as the Lower Ghagra. Lower Ghagra, this river is called Sarayu. It is mentioned in Ramayana. Ayodhya is located in the right bank of this river. Okay, so this is all about the Ghagra river. Then the Sabarmati river. Okay, Sabarmati originates from the Aravalli hills of Rajasthan. Okay, their right bank tributary are Sei, Siri, and Dhamni, and left bank tributary are Wakkal, Harnab, Hatmati, Khari, and Vatrak. Okay, Hatmati dam gote achi. Okay, on river Hatmati, and on Sabarmati river, this Dharoi dam gote achi. Okay, all right. So these are all important about Sabarmati river. It originates in Rajasthan. Okay, flows through Gujarat, but originates in Rajasthan. Okay, from Aravalli Hills. Okay. Next comes the Tapi River. Okay. Tapi River, also called Tapti, perennial west flowing states. Okay. It's a perennial west flowing river in the states of MP, Maharashtra, Gujarat. Tinta state through flow karji. It is also called the twin or handmaid of Narmada River due to its proximity and similar flow characteristics. Okay. It flows south of Narmada. Okay. So Tapi River, ତମେ ଦେଖିଦବ ଏଇଟା. ଏଇଟା ଯଦି ମ୍ୟାପ୍ ଅଛି ବିନ୍ଧ୍ୟ ଆଗେ ବିନ୍ଧ୍ୟ ରେଞ୍ଜ ତା ତଳେ ନର୍ମଦା ରିଭର ଫ୍ଲୋ କରୁଛି ତାପରେ ସତପୁରା ରେଞ୍ଜ ତା ତଳେ ତାପି ରେଞ୍ଜ ତାପି ଫ୍ଲୋ କରୁଛି. ଓକେ, ତ ତାପିର ଦେଖିବ ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ବାଉଣ୍ଡେଡ୍ ଇନ୍ ନର୍ଥ ବାଇ ସତପୁରା ରେଞ୍ଜ, ଇନ୍ ଦ ଇଷ୍ଟ ବାଇ ଦ ମହାଦେଓ ହିଲ୍ସ, ଇନ୍ ଦ ସାଉଥ ବାଇ ସତମାଲା ହିଲ୍ସ and ଅଜନ୍ତା ରେଞ୍ଜ and the ଗୋୱାଲିଗଡ଼ ହିଲ୍ସ. ଓକେ, ତ ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ ତାପି. It is the second largest west flowing river in peninsular India. Okay, west flowing largest is the Narmada. Okay, so origin it देखो Multai plateau in the Satpura range. Okay, in Madhya Pradesh. Multai plateau is the origin. Passes through Madhya Pradesh, passes through Satpura. Okay, तार tributaries ଅଛନ୍ତି. Tributaries ମୁଁ ଦେଖେଇ ଦେଇଛି ତାଙ୍କର map ରେ. District କୋଉଥିରୁ ଦେଇକି ଯାଉଛି ଏତେ ମନେ ରଖିବା ଦରକାର ନାହିଁ. Okay, so it flows into Gujarat. Okay, estuary near Surat, flowing into Arabian Sea. Alright, okay, Jim Tumundapalli, north is bounded by Satpura Range and Vindhyas, east by Mahadev Hills or Michael Range, south wing Ajanta and Satmala Hills, west Arabian Sea. Okay, so Tapi River, tama eita hochi tamara ena river, and it flows through this area and tapure bahut gude project bi achi. Most important project is this the Ukai Dam. Okay, Ukai Dam it is the second largest in Gujarat after the Sardar Sarovar Dam. Okay, Gujarat after Sardar Sarovar Dam. After Sardar Sarovar Dam, this is also called the Vallabh Sagar Dam. This Ukai Dam. Okay. ଆଉ କିଛି କିଛି ସବୁ ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ ଅଛନ୍ତି but these dams are not that much important. ତମର tributaries ବି ସବୁ ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି. So you can refer to this map. This is a good map. Okay. So this is all about Tapi. ଏଇଠି ଦେଖ ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣା river. ଏଠି ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣା river ଅଛି and Tapi river ଅଛି. Tapi ଆଉ ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣା ଭିତରେ ଗୱାଲିଗଡ଼ hills. Okay, Gawaligarh Hills. ତମେ ଏଠି ଦେଖିବ ଯେମିତି this Gawaligarh Hills lies between Tapi and Purna. Now comes the Narmada River. Okay, it is the largest west flowing river of peninsular India, as we know. Westward through Rift Valley. Rift Valley is formed due to the watershed line formed by India after collision with the Eurasian plate. Okay, through a Rift Valley, through the between the Vindhya range and Satpura range. Okay, origin which is Maikala range near Amarkantak, Madhya Pradesh. Okay, this Maikala range, this is the origin of Narmada River. Okay, so boundaries north re Vindhya, east re Maikala range, south re Satpura, west Arabian Sea. Okay, so lower basin, middle and lower basin, broad, fertile, suitable for agriculture. Most important city is Jabalpur, main urban center. Near Jabalpur, the river draws 15 meter into a gorge called the famous Dhuandhar. Okay, Dhuandhar Falls, cloud of mist. तम एटा geography optional रे as a mapping पे आसी थला तमरो. Okay, so this is the Dhuandhar Falls in Narmada River near Jabalpur. This gorge is made of marble. It is also known as the marble rocks. Okay, this Dhuandhar Falls. Okay, so ଆଉ କିଛି waterfall ଅଛି ଯେମିତି ମନ୍ଦାର and ସହସ୍ରଧାରା fall. Okay, ତାର ତମେ ଜାଣିଛ estuary ଅଛି. Okay, estuary ଅଛି. There are several islands also. Alia Bet is the largest island in the Narmada River. Okay, so Narmada River. So right bank, left bank tributaries ଅଛି. These are some of the projects that are on the Narmada River. Okay, Sardar Sarovar Dam is the largest dam in Gujarat. As I said, Omkareshwar Dam. Okay, so this is all about the Narmada River. Okay, so our side a question da about rivers. Now comes the next question. So which of the following is not the recommendation of Dinesh Goswami Committee on Electoral Reforms? Okay. So Dinesh Goswami Committee on Electoral Reforms ତମେ ଏଟା ମନେ ରଖିବାକୁ ପଡିବ because ତମର ଏଟା electoral reforms ରେ ତମର mains time ରେ this can serve as a value addition. Okay, ବହୁତ ସାରା committee ଅଛି, Tarkunde committee, Dinesh Goswami committee. Okay, about electoral reforms. So JP Narayana committee. So you can mention this in your answer. Okay, so ଟିକେ option ଗୋଟେ ଦେଖିଦେବା. This can also be solved through common sense. Okay, time limit for by elections. Okay, this sounds like a probable recommendation. Increase in deposit from independent. Okay, okay, so this can also be sound like a probable option to increase in deposit from independents to discourage the non-serious candidates. Okay, voter council should be formed to help free and fair elections. Okay, so এই অপশনটা ଲାଗୁନି ଯେ voter council ତମ ଭାବ voter ମାନେ common ଲୋକଙ୍କ council ସବୁ ତିଆରି କରି ହବ to help in free and fair elections. Okay, so till now India as in democracy in India is in its nascent stage. Okay, so we are the largest democracy, but democracy is still in a nascent stage where votes are also distributed in the name of freebies, sometimes in the name of religion. Okay, So ଆମ ଭିତରେ division ବହୁତ ଅଛି, okay, but ଏଇ time ରେ voter council କରିବା, okay, this may not be a uh, suitable recommendation, okay. And Dinesh Goswami committee, it was held in 1990. This committee gave its recommendation in 1990. So 1990 re, this does not sound like a recommendation that could have been made by the committee, okay. And so this will be the answer. And amendment of anti-defection law to restrict disqualification. Okay, most probably this is the answer. Okay, anti-defection law. तो बेटा बहुत ही important तुम्हारा सब बेड है. Okay, anti-defection law. It was enacted into the constitution through the 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1985. All right, and this 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act, this introduced the word political party in the constitution. Okay. पॉलिटिकल पार्टी वार्ड इंट्रोड्यूस कराला इन दिस अमेंडमेंट, ओके. तो एटा पचारि थिला हमर इथर यूपीएससी रे भी 2025 रे ही जे पॉलिटिकल पार्टी मेंशन हेची ना नै कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन रे, ओके. तो मेंशन हेची, ओके. अबाउट एंटी डिफेक्शन लॉ, दिस इज अ important thing, okay. इथर बहुत क्वेश्चन आसे, ओके. दिस एक्ट वाज स्ट्रेंथेंड इन 2003, ओके. अमेंडमेंट, तो दिस एक्ट वाज स्ट्रेंथेंड इन 2003, alright, through the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, okay. The 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, where disqualification of defectors and banning them from being appointed as ministers, okay, for a period of time, okay. So this was amended in 2003. एटा तमरो OCS रे भी question आछि, okay. OCS 2023 most probably, I think, okay. So दिनेश गोस्वामी कमिटी ऑन इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म्स टिके देखि दवा. तो कोन सब रिकमेंडेशन देइतिले, ओके. It empowering the election commission, okay. Election commission should have authority to order repolls or countermand order repolls independently and not just based on the returning officer's report, okay. It also recommended that election commission should appoint investigating or prosecuting agencies of its own and set up its special courts, okay. So this is an important recommendation that has not been implemented, okay. Anti-defection law reforms, okay. Disqualification only if a member voluntarily resigns or votes or abstains against the party whip, okay. Speaker should not decide on disqualification, okay. This is a recommendation of Dinesh Goswami committee, okay. Voting reforms is suggested to explore proportional representation, that is this system in place of the current system after expert discussions, okay. Current system tomorrow first past the post system, okay. So Dinesh Goswami committee proposed proportional representation, okay. Delimitation, okay. Rotation of SC/ST seats, okay. It recommended candidates should not contest for more than 2 constituencies, okay. तो बाकी आउ जा सब रहला फॉरफीचर, ओके. तो सिक्योरिटी डिपॉजिट, अबाउट सिक्योरिटी डिपॉजिट, लोकसभा एतिकी, असेंबली एतिकी. फॉरफीचर इज द कैंडिडेट फेल्स टू सिक्योर 1/4 of total votes, okay. Recommended increase in number of proposals for nomination, all right. And formal model code of conduct, formal model code of conduct, till now this is informal, okay. So it recommended to formalize this, okay. It should regulate the misuse of official machinery, transport, media, and public funds, okay. Ban on transfer of officials during election times, okay. By elections must be held within 6 months, okay. This 8 out option thila tamar question there, okay. Proxy voting, so this has been allowed, okay. Election expenses, it asked the extensive reforms in election expense accounting, okay. This is an important data tame सब, this is an important, okay, जोटा के अपन implement है ही नहीं, okay. Election commission should monitor these expenses and fast track dispute resolution through ad hoc judges, okay. Polling day, use of mechanically propelled vehicles, carrying weapons and firearms, liquor distribution, okay. This should be banned, this all. And EVM, recommended introduction of EVM throughout the country, okay. So एटा तमरा मेंस रे भी तमे ए किछि किछि जोटा को मो हाइलाइट करछि, दोस आर important recommendations that have not been implemented yet. तो तमे मेंस रे एगुडा सब लिखि पारिबो, ऑलराइट. So this is all about this question in the next question committee, okay. So now come the next question. Which one of the following subjects is not included in the concurrent list, okay. The concurrent list, a list koda, these are this can be found in article 246 of constitution, okay. 246. So Parliament has power to make laws with respect to any matters enumerated in list 1 of 7th schedule, okay. 7th schedule deals with the 3 lists, okay. So Parliament can make laws in the list 1, that is the union list, okay, of 7th schedule, okay. So Parliament and the legislature of any state have the power to make laws with any matter registered in list 3. Okay, that is the concurrent list, is the list 3. Okay. So again, subject to clause 1 and 2, legislature has exclusive power to make laws for such lists. Okay, that is mentioned in the list 2, that is the state list. Okay, and again, Parliament has power to make laws with respect to any matter or for any part of territory of India not included in a state, notwithstanding that such matter is enumerated in the state list. Okay, so this says that Parliament has overriding powers with respect to the state assemblies. Okay, Article 246. This is an important article. This is concerned with the 7th schedule. Okay, Article 246. Okay, तो बाकी रहिला क्वेश्चन पचारजी concurrent list ऊपर. Okay, तो टिके भी तमे जदी एटा पॉसिबल हुएनी जे आमे सब किछि मने रखि पारिबा. Okay, तो टिके भी कॉमन सेंस यूज करिवा. concurrent list पचारची माने both center and state can legislate. Okay, on actionable wrongs. Okay, actionable wrongs, this sounds like law and order. Okay, law and order means जे किछि गोटा भूल करछि ताकू punishment दिया जाओ कि discipline करा जीवो. Okay, because this sounds like a law and order problem. So yes, this can be included in concurrent list. Okay, bankruptcy and insolvency. Okay, most probably both can legislate. Price control, as you all know, both can legislate. Capitation taxes. Okay, এটা हमको जाना पड़ुची most probably this can এটা हमें जानी नहीं था what are capitation taxes most probably. Okay, so the answer is capitation taxes. Okay, तो taxes ऊपर actually division अच्छी. तो हमारे सेंट्रल और स्टेट भीतर तो कैपिटेशन टैक्स इज वन ऑफ देम. ओके, तो कैपिटेशन टैक्स दैट इज द आंसर. तो हम टिके देखि दवा अबाउट द को टैक्स स्टेट माने कोन अंडर अछि. ओके, सो आई हैव टेकन दिस फ्रॉम द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ स्टैटिस्टिक्स एंड प्रोग्राम इम्प्लीमेंटेशन वेबसाइट. ओके, तो लिस्ट 2 ऑफ 7 शेड्यूल में 19 टा आइटम्स अछि. ओके, 19 आइटम्स that are covered under state taxation powers. Okay, so what are the 19 items? That is about land revenue, about maintenance of land records, land survey for revenue purpose, agricultural income for a tax, duty with respect to succession to agricultural income, estate duty with respect to agricultural income, tax on land and buildings, tax on minerals. Okay, duties of excise duty for goods manufactured or produced within the state, like alcoholic liquor for human consumption, opium, hemp, and other narcotic drugs. Okay, so these are under state power. Okay, taxes on entry of goods into local area for consumption and use of sale in that area. Okay, so this is under state. Taxes on consumption and sale of electricity, tax on sale and purchase of goods other than newspaper. Okay, goods other than newspaper, because see, newspaper, these are exempt from GST. Okay, newspaper are termed as awareness generating material. Okay, so they are exempt from GST, but their digital version, okay, digital version attracts 18% GST. Okay, the digital version attracts 18% GST. Okay, but newspapers can put a fee uh, for advertisements. Okay, they can use their space to generate revenue. Okay, so this is about newspaper. Tax on advertisements other than advertisements published in newspaper. Okay, newspaper जो advertisement करिए सेटा नुहा. Okay, that cannot be taxed. Okay, and taxes on goods and passengers carried by road and inland waterway, taxes on vehicles. Okay, taxes on animals and boats, tolls. So tolls, what are tolls? They are a type of fee for using a they are a type of fee for using a specific infrastructure like roads, buildings, ferries, etc. Okay, taxes on profession, trade and calling and employment. Okay, capitation tax, tax on luxury, including taxes on entertainment, amusement, betting, gambling, stamp duty. Okay, again, state may authorize a panchayat to tax, levy and collect taxes. Okay, so capitation tax, हमें देखिए कौन, what are capitation taxes? Okay, so capitation tax is a direct tax imposed uniformly on every individual. Okay, irrespective of their income, wealth, or economic status. Okay, so capitation, this word comes from the Latin word caput, meaning head, means prati head. Each head rate on tax podiva. Okay, that refers to a fixed amount of tax per person. Okay, so it is a fixed rate, it is a flat rate, everyone pays the same, no matter of their ability to pay. So it is regressive in nature because it puts higher burden on the poor. Okay, it is levied per person. It is not based on property, income, or transaction. Okay, so it is rare in modern tax systems due to equity concerns. Okay, because most of the societies are equitable, moving towards equitable. So purely capitation tax आज का टाइम रे सेमती किसी नहीं, but तमे देखियो जेमती जोटा कि सपोज taxes capitation tax in India जो तमे देखियो about profession tax levied by state governments and municipal bodies. Okay, it is imposed on professionals, traders and employees at a fixed rate. Okay, regardless of their income level. Okay, जोटा कि it has been specified under Article 276. Article 276 कौन हमें देखिवा. Okay, so though it is based on profession, but it is also uniform within slabs. Okay. So within slabs, it is a capitation tax. Okay. Education says so, levied is a uniform charge on taxpayer for education related municipal head tax, historical or local. Okay. So local bodies they impose head tax on resident for civic amenities. Okay. So which has characteristics of capitation tax. Okay. जेମିତି तमरो suppose तमरो street lighting tax हो कि तमरो sewer tax हो. Okay. कि तमरो drainage tax हो. These are applied on every resident irrespective of their house size. Okay. तो ଗୋଟେ uniform rate पड़े. तमरो house बड़ा थिले तमरो maybe तमरो land revenue बेसी की कम ହେଇଥାଇ पारे but କିଛି କିଛି tax जोटा कि समस्त की देवा पड़े. Okay. Like street lighting tax हो तमरो sewer tax हो. Okay. These are same for everyone. Okay. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में मेंशन कराई अंडर आर्टिकल 276. ओके तो एटा में देखिबा ऑल्दो इट इजंट ओके मेक्स इट कंपेरेबल. ओके सो जेमति तम प्रोफेशन भीतर भी इनकम टैक्स स्लैब रे तुमको कैपिटेशन टैक्स अछि तो विद इन अ स्लैब दैट कैपिटेशन टैक्स कांसेप्ट कैन बी अप्लाइड. ओके so true capitation tax where every person pays a flat fee are not commonly used in India. Okay, but most modern systems they prefer progressive taxation to maintain equity. Okay, so Article 276 देखिए article. So no law of the legislature of state relating to taxes for benefit of state district. Okay, profession, trade, calling, employment shall be invalid on the ground that it relates to tax on income. Okay, so state has the power to levy tax on profession and trade. Okay, so this tax should not exceed 2,500 rupees per annum. Okay. So in insert at 2,500 rupees, this has been exclusively mentioned in constitution. Okay. So it may be future question asipare. Okay. This figure. Okay. This law shall not be construed as limiting in any way the power of parliament to make laws with respect to taxes or income accruing from or arising out of profession, trade and calling employment. Okay. So either capitation tax जो भी अच्छी. So 2500 तो देइछि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन स्पेसिफाई कराइछि बट पार्लियामेंट चाहिए टैक्स को बढ़ाई पारिबो. ओके so this article should not be constituted as a limitation. Okay, so this is all about this capitation taxes about the list. Article 246 deals with the list and which items are in the list. 19 items are in the state list of to tax. Okay, under state tax and capitation tax को हमें देखिए. Okay, so now comes the next question. So just 1 minute. ओके तो कैपिटेशन टैक्स. ओके सो कैपिटेशन टैक्स रा आउट भी तुम देखि पारे जेमति हमरो पेट्रोल रे. ओके पेट्रोल जेतले सेल होची पेट्रोल ऊपर बहुत रे सेस पड़े. ओके सेस लाइक बेसिक एक्साइज ड्यूटी. बेसिक एक्साइज ड्यूटी दिस इज लेविड बाय सेंटर. ओके प्लस रोड एंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट सेस. रोड एंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट सेस आउ एमती भी आसे तमरो एग्रीकल्चर एंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट सेस तमरो डीलर रो कमीशन फी अछि. Okay, so these types of taxes are applied on everyone. Okay, irrespective of their income. Okay, तो पेट्रोल किनला माने तुमको यही सब देबा को पड़िबो. Okay, so this can also be considered as a capitation tax. Okay, so which of the following is not the discretionary power of President of India? Okay, not the discretionary power. तो अबाउट भेटो पावर दीटा देछि सस्पेंसिव भेटो एंड पॉकेट भेटो. तो एटा पॉलिटी रो बेसिक एना मु या पर बेसिक किछ कहबिनी बट जस्ट द इंपोर्टेंट जिंस तमरा आर्टिकल अछि आर्टिकल 111 और आर्टिकल 201. these two articles deal with the veto powers of president and governor. Okay, so when a bill is passed by House of Parliament presented to president shall declare that either he wants to give assent or that he withholds assent. If the president withholds assent, this is the suspensive. Okay, this is the suspensive veto. So veto means to forbid. Veto means to forbid. So the president withholds assent, then that is suspensive veto. If the council of ministers or the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha again passes the bill, then the president has to give assent. Okay. Again, if president will give assent, president cannot use suspensive veto in case the bill is a money bill. Okay. Same thing for governor. Okay. Veto power of governor and article 201 এটা କିଛି ଆଉ explain କରିବାର ନାହିଁ. Okay. ତ ତମେ ଏଇଟା ଲେଖିଦେଲେ ଜାଣିପାରିବ. Okay. So, to decide the day-to-day administrative decisions in case of caretaker government. Okay. So, caretaker government upar देखते So, caretaker government, it operates during the interregnum, the period between dissolution of Lok Sabha and the formation of new government after the elections. Okay. So, caretaker government can also come into play if the prime minister dies in office. Okay. Just like what happened during the assassination of Indira Gandhi. Okay. So caretaker government ଯେତେବେଳେ government ନାହିଁ ସେତେବେଳେ ଆସେ. Okay, it ensures continuity in governance. Okay, so how is formed if Lok Sabha is dissolved or due to completion of term or loss of confidence? Okay, it is advised by the outgoing prime minister and overseen by the president. Okay, this caretaker government. This is usually the previous government that continues with its role as the caretaker government. Okay, but the activities that the functions have limitations. Okay, it only handles the routine administrative duties and day-to-day functioning. It cannot take major policy decisions or significant financial commitments. Okay, so it is also prohibited from announcing new policies and entering major international tact. Okay, so it also acts decisively during national crisis or emergency. Okay, तो जदि किसी एमती किसी सिचुएशन आसे जदि गवर्नमेंट नथिबो ताले किए फंक्शन करियो कंट्री को. Okay, so for these areas the caretaker government is there. Okay, it is limitation is bound by constitutional norms and conventions. Limited authority cannot influence elections or favor any political party. All right. So interim government, caretaker government with a difference. Interim government, it is the full-fledged government. In caretaker government, it is a temporary setup with restricted powers and functions. Okay. So interim government कौन है? इटा भी तुम्हारे लक्ष्मीकांत रची. You will read it. Okay. So SR Bombay judgment रे. Okay. SR Bombay judgment. So it gave its opinion about the president's role during a caretaker government. Okay. So तमें जानिचा under Article 74 of Constitution of India, there shall be a council of ministers with prime minister at the head to aid and advise the president, who shall exercise his functions and act accordingly. Okay. So this is the pillar. This is the building block. Okay, so this is the cornerstone. Article 74 is the cornerstone of parliamentary democracy in India. Okay, so president is only the nominal head. Okay, so presidents. Okay, so again, president can require the council of ministers to reconsider, but only once. Okay, so again, if the advice tendered by minister, president shall not be required into any court. Okay, so Article 74 कहूची जे president will always act according to the aid and advice of the council of ministers. Okay, so accordingly SR Bombay judgment रे कौन कुहा हितला जे Article 74 requires the president to act in aid and advice. Okay, so this applies even when the government is in caretaker mode. Okay, so after dissolution of Lok Sabha or when the new government is yet to be formed. Okay, so Supreme Court reaffirmed that president cannot act independently. Okay, so there is no discretionary power of president during caretaker government. President must act on the advice regardless of whether the government is full-fledged or caretaker. Okay, so this was done to prevent arbitrary action. Okay, again, so it to prevent arbitrary action. So can president decide the day-to-day administrative decisions in case of caretaker government? So this is no. So CP answer hey paribo. Okay, CP answer hey paribo, but OPSC has given answer is D. Okay, answer is D, but again, please note that CP answer hai due to SR Bombay judgment. Okay, C or D both can be the answer. Okay, so D, summon and dissolve parliamentary session. Okay, so Article 85 of Constitution deals with session of Parliament. Okay, President shall from time to time summon each house to meet at such time and place as he thinks fit, but 6 months shall not intervene. Okay, between its last sitting and the date appointed as the first sitting of the next session. Okay, 6 months ଭିତରେ House को meet परिवार अच्छी. Again, this is the power of president, but please note this is not the discretion of president. Okay, this is not the discretion of president. President has to consult the Prime Minister to summon and prorogue sessions. Okay, to prorogue the House or dissolve the House, President এটা time to time consult the Prime Minister. Okay, but President ର କିଛି କିଛି ମାତ୍ରାରେ dissolving the House of People ରେ ବି President ର କିଛି କିଛି discretion ଅଛି ଯୋଉଟା କି ଆମେ ଦେଖିଦବା. Okay, ତ ଆମେ ଜାଣିବା answer ଏଇଆ, summon and dissolve time ରେ ବି President needs the advice of the Prime Minister. Okay, so question ପଚାରୁଛି which is not the discretionary power. So these two can be the answer. Okay. ତ ଟିକେ ଦେଖିଦବା discretionary power of president in special situation. Okay, suspensive veto ଯୋଉଟା ଆମେ ଦେଖିଲେ under article 74. Okay, ଦେଇଛି ଏଠି article 74. When the president returns a non-money bill, okay, money bill को से suspensive veto रखी परिबनी. Okay, to president parliament for reconsideration. Okay, so if the parliament repasses the bill, president must give assent. Okay, not applicable to money bills. Okay, pocket veto, this is discretionary power. Okay, withhold assent indefinitely, not exclusively mentioned, not explicitly mentioned in the constitution, but it is a derived from practice. Okay, no time limit. Okay, President Jail Singh held back the postal bill. এটা তোমার লক্ষ্মীকান্ত ଅଛି during the time of hung parliament. Okay, hung parliament when no party or coalition has gained majority. Okay, then president invites the leader of single largest party or the largest pre-poll alliance or the largest post-poll alliance. Okay, so କାହାକୁ ଡାକିବାର ଅଛି, that is the discretion of the president. Okay, so if no one seems viable, president uses discretion to invite a person most likely to form. Okay, so ଏସବୁ ଏମିତି ହେଇଛି during the 9th, 10th and 12th Lok Sabha. Okay, dissolution of Lok Sabha, if the council of minister loses majority, president can decide whether to dissolve the house or not. Okay, ଯଦି the advice of council is binding only if the government has majority. Okay, but if it does not has majority, president can exercise discretion and dissolve the house. Okay, appointment of prime minister on sudden vacancy. Okay, so this happened during after the Indira Gandhi's assassination. Rajiv Gandhi was appointed as the prime minister, and Kulzari Lal Nanda was appointed twice as caretaker PM after death of Nehru and Shastri. Okay, so and seeking information from prime minister. Okay, article 78. President has the right to seek information from PM on union matters. Okay, this is the discretion of president. This is the constitutional tradition. Okay, British constitutional tradition. So gala question ta gala, we went through the veto power, the discretionary power of president. How the answer? Okay, OPSC has given this is the answer, but C can also be the answer according to the SR my judgment. Now comes which article of Indian Constitution speaks about official language of Indian Union? Okay, official language of Indian Union, that is article 343. But जेहेतु अलग आर्टिकल गुड़ा मेंशन कराई ऑप्शन रे, मे बी फ्यूचर रे इथरो क्वेश्चन हेई पारे. So article 341, it deals with who can be the scheduled castes. Okay, the president with respect to a state or UT can specify the caste, race, tribe or sub parts within the group. Okay, to be deemed as scheduled caste in relation to that state or union territory as the case may be. Okay, in relation to that state or union territory. Okay, so it means that गोटे स्टेट रे गोटे कास्ट शेड्यूल कास्ट हेई थाई पारे, अलगा स्टेट रे सही कास्ट शेड्यूल कास्ट न हेई थाई पारे. Okay, so please mark this intricacy. This has been asked in UPSC. Okay, so next article 339, it deals with the control of union over administration of scheduled areas and welfare of scheduled tribes. Okay, president may time to time may from time to time, okay, by order appoint a commission to report on administration of scheduled areas and the welfare of scheduled tribes in the states. Okay, the commission appoint hebago either constitution mandate kara heichi. So according to this article, two commissions have been established. Two commissions have been established. Those are the Debar Commission and the Bhuria Commission. Okay, Debar Commission and the Bhuria Commission. Bhuria Commission. Okay, so Debar Commission, Bhuria Commission. This was established in 1960. This was established in 1991. Okay, so Debar Commission ne kaun itla. So this commission studied the tribal land alienation and recommended to scrutinize the land transfer legislations. Okay, तो ट्राइबल मान को जंती बोका बने की तांगटो लैंड नहीं जा होची, तो देवर कमीशन said that land transfer legislation should be scrutinized. Okay, and then no any outsider cannot buy tribal land in tribal area or scheduled area. Okay, And Bhuria Commission, it reviewed the provision for implementation of provision of STs. Okay. ST ମାନଙ୍କ welfare में Bhuria Commission ହେଇଥିଲା. Okay. So this is about Article 339. Article 343, official language. Official language of the union. Official language of the union shall be Hindi in Devanagari script, and the form of numerals to be used for official purposes shall be the international form of the Indian numeral. Okay. The international form of Indian numeral, जोटा कि हमर इंडिया रे जेमती we write in first thousand, then come lakh, then come crore. Okay. But internationally को practice accept करा जाए thousands, millions, billions. Okay. So constitution लिखा है जी we can the official for official purpose we can adopt this notation of thousands, lakhs, crores. Okay, this can be adopted by India. Okay, the budget document देखियो हमरो केबे से million, billion एमती लिखा होउनु. Okay, so this is mentioned in Article 343. All right. So next Article 343 gala, 339 gala, 341 भी देखिले. 336, this deals with special provision for Anglo-Indian community in certain services. Okay. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन रे एंग्लो इंडियन कमिशन एंग्लो इंडियन कम्युनिटीज मानक पई रिजर्वेशन पई प्रोविजन अछि इन रेलवेज कस्टम्स पोस्टल्स एंड टेलीग्राफ सर्विसेज. ओके, प्रोविजन अछि बट दिस इज इन द टेक्स्ट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बट currently this is not operational. Okay, but please note our constitution रे एंग्लो इंडियन मानक पई रिजर्वेशन इन सर्विसेज पई गोटे आर्टिकल अछि दैट इज आर्टिकल 336. ओके, so next question, in which year simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha and all states were held? Okay, so देखिदवा simultaneous election ऊपर. So simultaneous election not a new to the country. Okay, after adoption of constitution, election of Lok Sabha and all state legislative assemblies were held simultaneously between 1951 to 1967. Okay, so first general election to Lok Sabha were held together in 1951 52. Okay, so 1952 1952 5 वर्ष पर इलेक्शन हबो. 1952 plus 5 comes 1957. पुणी 5 वर्ष पर इलेक्शन हला, then comes 1962. पुणी 5 वर्ष पर इलेक्शन हला, then comes 1967. Okay, so till 1967 our simultaneous election ହେଇଥିଲା. However, due to premature dissolution of some legislative assemblies in 68 and 69, the cycle got disrupted for first time. Okay, तो ता पर simultaneous election ହେଇनी. So okay, so simultaneous elections have been held in India for 4 times. Okay, for 4 times in 1952, 1957, 1962. Okay, and 1957, 1962, and 1967. Okay, 1971 the heina thala. Okay, so pochachi not held. Okay, so 1971 is the answer. Okay. Now comes the next question. 48. Which of the following states does not come under second schedule to Indian Constitution? Okay, so the spelling mistake. Okay, under sixth schedule. Okay, so second schedule of Indian Constitution, this deals with the emoluments of high-ranking officials like president, governor, speaker, deputy speaker. Okay, second schedule that deals with that. The sixth schedule of Indian Constitution deals with 4 states, that is Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura. Okay, Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura. Okay, Sikkim, Noha. Okay, so Sikkim is the answer. Does not come. Now, देखो एमतिया क्वेश्चन, these are ए क्वेश्चन उडा पूरा डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन से टाइम रा करंट अफेयर्स. ओके, जीएसटी बिल केम इनटू इंप्लीमेंटेशन फ्रॉम 1 जुलाई. तो बिल नंबर केते, एक्ट नंबर केते. ओके, सो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट उडा इंपोर्टेंट, वी नीड टू रिमेंबर. तो जदी 101st कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट इज रिलेटेड टू जीएसटी, जो तुम ए फैक्ट जानिथिबो, बाकी ऑप्शन किसी देखियो ही दरकार नाही. ओके, तमर आंसर हेइ जिवो. ओके, तुम आंसर हेइ जिवो. जस्ट गोटे कहबी खाली तमे रिसेंटली जो सब एक्ट गुडा हेजी आफ्टर 100th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट. ओके, एगुडा मने रखि दबो. ओके, 100th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट दैट डील्स विथ लैंड बाउंड्री एग्रीमेंट. ओके, एगुडा तमरो लक्ष्मीकांत रा मेंशन हेजी लैंड बाउंड्री एग्रीमेंट बिटवीन इंडिया एंड बांग्लादेश. ओके, 101st, as you know, this deals with GST. Okay, 102nd constitutional amendment act, this deals with this gave the constitutional status to National Commission for Backward Class. Okay, NCBC became constitutional status. Constitutional status under Article 338B. Okay, so okay, तो Article 338 तमर आगुरु जेमती थिला. Okay, Article 338. This was earlier. This was the Article 338 was National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. Okay, but after the 89th Constitutional Amendment Act, okay, 89th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2003, 338 was bifurcated into two. 330 Article 338 gave constitutional status to National Commission for Scheduled Caste, and Article 338A gave constitutional status to National Council for Scheduled Tribe. Okay, National Commission for Scheduled Tribe. Okay, so this is all about Article 338. Okay, so constitutional amendments are important. 89th CAA रे AI था. Okay, so next comes the 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act. This gave 10% reservation to the EWS category. Okay, 104th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, 104th Constitutional Amendment Act. This extended the deadline of reservation to SC/ST, and the reservation for Anglo-Indians were removed. Okay, reservation for Anglo-Indians in the legislatures were removed. Okay, and the 105th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, 105th Constitutional Amendment Act, the state government can prepare their own SCBC list. Okay, এটা হচ্ছে 105th. 106th Constitutional Amendment Act give the 1/3 reservation of seats for women in Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. All right. So constitutional amendments are important. तमरो हमरो सुबर्ण रे भी तमरो प्रोवाइड कर दिया जीवो लिस्ट ऑफ constitutional important constitutional amendments that you should remember. এটা already SSR देई चंती. Okay, so सेटा भी देखि दबो. Okay, now comes the next question. Article 21 of Indian Constitution, right to life, personal liberty and right to privacy. এটা କିଛି कहिबार नाही. Article 21, protection of life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. Okay, life, personal liberty and right to privacy. Article 21. Next comes question 51. Which of the following is not a feature of national capital goods policy? Okay, again टिके तमर गोटे पॉलिसी आछि तो पॉलिसी रो सब रिकमेंडेशन सब फीचर गुडा मन रखिया नॉट पॉसिबल. ओके, टिके तम जदी कॉमन सेंस यूज करबो क्वेश्चन ता हेई परिबो. ओके, increase in share of domestic capital goods production. Okay, so जेतु एटा गोटे भलो this is a good thing for economy. This may be a recommendation. Facilitate improvement in technology depth across subsectors. Okay, this is a good recommendation. Increase import of capital goods. Okay, so option C is saying we should increase import of capital goods to increase our dependency on others for capital goods. Okay, so एटा ही हेई नथिबो. Okay, so which of the following is not the recommendation? Okay, so option C is the answer. 6 to launch a technology development fund. Okay, so this will also help India. So maybe an option. Okay, option C ही तमे मार परियो through common sense. Okay, तो पॉलिसी किसी देखिया दरकार नहीं. तो सही टाइम रे 2016 रे आस्तला तो 2018 रे पचार देइतला. एबे किछि देखिया दरकार नहीं. बट गोटे कैपिटल गुड कोन कैपिटल गुड ऊपर टिके देखि दबो. एटा सब बेला ही आसे. Particular good will be capital good in nature only if it has the following three characteristics. Okay, so it is a durable output of a man-made process. It acts as an input for further production process, not to be sold in the market. Okay, it should not this input should not be sold in the market. Okay, input for further production. Okay, further production process. This can be capital good, can be used to make an intermediate good. Okay, not to be sold in the market. While acting as an input, it does not get transformed or consumed, but undergoes wear and tear. Okay, so main point of difference between intermediate and capital goods is the intermediate goods may get transformed or consumed. Okay, while acting as an input. Okay, so tea leaf for personal consumption or tea leaf for someone who sells tea. Okay, so जे बिक्री करिया चाहूची tea, for him tea leaf is an intermediate good. Okay, so that intermediate good underwent transformation. Okay, but capital good कौन? For example, a tractor, it is a capital good. So ଯେତେବେଳେ ହଳ କରୁଛି ଗୋଟେ tractor, so it undergoes wear and tear. That is true. It undergoes depreciation, but does not get consumed during production of crops. Okay, so ताको future ରେ आउଥରେ भी use କରି हबो. Okay, it is a durable output. Okay, so it acts as an input for further production of process. Okay, further production process. Tractor थरे crop ହେଇଗଲା ତ ମାନେ न हो tractor ସରିଗଲା. Okay, it acts as an input for further production. And again, while acting as an input, it undergoes wear and tear. That is depreciation. Okay. So this is the feature of capital goods. এটা মনে রাখি দেবো. Okay, এটা ସବୁ ବେଳେ ହିଁ economics ରେ important କେତେବେଳେ ନା କେତେବେଳେ help ହିଁ ହବ. Okay, this is a basic concept. Alright. So ଏମିତିଆ question ଦେଖ. 35 पे related to Jammu and Kashmir किसी तरह discussion परिवार में. Okay. Which of the following articles were repealed from Indian Constitution by Constitution 26th Amendment Act of 1971? Okay. So 26th Constitutional Amendment Act ठीक है देखिए दवा. Okay. Constitution 26th Amendment Act. The concept of rulership with privy purses, special privileges. Okay. So what are the objective of this 26th Constitutional Amendment Act? So this is an important amendment related to the privy purses. Okay. So what are privy purses? So privy purse was the payment that was made to princely families to integrate their states with India. Okay. So Rajaଙ୍କ family ଥିଲା ସେମାନଙ୍କର they wanted some payment to integrate their princely states with India. Okay. For that privy purses were given, but in 1971 it was seen that this this concept of rulers with privy purses and special privileges, okay, are not related to any current function and social purpose. It is incompatible with an egalitarian social order. Okay. So the government decided to terminate the privy purses and privileges of the rulers of Indian states. Okay. So what happened in the amendment? Omission of Article 291 and 362. So 391 and 291 and 362 were omitted. Okay. So Pacharchi 291 and 362 will be our answer. Okay. Article. So which of the following articles were repealed? Pacharchi. Repealed. So 291 and 362 is the answer. How कौन कौन सुबह insertion of article 363A. Okay. 363A re recognition was granted to rulers of Indian state to seize the privy purses to be abolished. Okay. तो जो rulers मानको title दिया था ताको abolish करा जीवो एबे. Okay. And amendment to article 366. Okay. So what is the amendment? We will see. Okay. ठीक है. Article 366 तो देनी. So article 366 तो इटा मने रखी दबो. Okay. Article 366 defined who is a ruler. Okay. एबे कहीं ruler नहांती, but constitution रे आज भी एक जिनसटा mention है कि अच्छी. Okay. Article 366 repeal है नहीं. So ruler means a prince, chief or other person who at any time before the commencement of constitution of 26th Amendment Act was recognized by the president as the ruler of an Indian state. Okay. So Article 366 defines who is a ruler. Okay. So jahaku 26th Amendment Act पूर्वरु president recognition मिलता as a ruler, those will be recognized as ruler. Okay. So Article 366 बाकी जो सब article उड़ा option रे अछि हमें उड़ा सब देखि दबा. But Article 283 deals with the custody of consolidated and consolidated fund, contingency fund, okay, and the public accounts. Okay. Article 283 important. एड़ा मन रखि दबा. It deals with the uh, custody of the funds. Okay. Custody of consolidated fund of India, contingency fund of India, and the public money. Okay. So in the public accounts of India. Okay. Their payment into the public account of India shall be regulated by law made by the Parliament. Okay. And the custody of consolidated fund of a state, contingency fund of a state, and matters connected to the public account of a state shall be regulated by law made by the legislature of the state. Okay. So without the consent of the legislature, money cannot be transacted out of the consolidated fund or contingency fund. Jodi Parliament kichi law karchi, then executive can take out money according to that law. Okay. Article 251, inconsistency between laws made by Parliament, okay, and laws made by state legislature. Okay. So as you all know, this Article 251, this is a feature of our unique feature of federalism, where the center is strong and the states are weak. Okay. So the inconsistency the laws made by Parliament will prevail. Okay. Similarly, Article 256, executive obligation of states and to the union, executive power of states shall be exercised to ensure compliance with the laws made by Parliament. Again, this shows the unitary nature of Indian federation. Okay. Article 301, freedom of trade, commerce, and intercourse throughout the territory of India, it shall be free. And Article 304, okay, restriction on trade, commerce, and intercourse among states. Okay. So there can be reasonable restrictions on freedom of trade, commerce within the states as may be required in public interest. Okay. So again, जदि एमती किसी स्टेट मानक लेजिस्लेचर बिल पास करा होची that restricts the freedom of trade that should have the previous sanction of the president. Okay, this is mandated under article 304. Okay, so I think I'm देखिदेला सब 301 304 article 283 ଆମେ ଦେଖିଲେ 283 a କିଛି ନାହିଁ ସେମିତି article 251 256 you have seen. Okay, तो सब दिया है जी एटा जस्ट खाली देखिदवा कथा जानिथिबो एबडा. ओके, मिशन सत्यनिष्ठा. ओके, मिशन सत्यनिष्ठा प्रोग्राम लॉन्च्ड बाय इंडियन रेलवेज. ओके, ସେଇ ଟାଇମର କରେଣ୍ଟ ଆଫେୟାର ତ କିଛି ଏଥିରେ ନାହିଁ. ଓକେ, 27 ଜୁଲାଇ 2018 ରେ ପିଆଇବି ରେ ମିଶନ ସତ୍ୟନିଷ୍ଠା ପ୍ରୋଗ୍ରାମ ଅନ୍ ଏଥିକ୍ସ ଇନ୍ ପବ୍ଲିକ ଗଭର୍ନାନ୍ସ. ଓକେ, ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ଦ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ନୋଟ କରିବ, ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ ଦ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ଅଫ ଇଟ୍ସ କାଇଣ୍ଡ ଇଭେଣ୍ଟ ଲଞ୍ଚ ବାଇ ଏନି ଗଭର୍ନମେଣ୍ଟ ଅର୍ଗାନାଇଜେସନ ଦ୍ୟାଟ ଇଜ ଦ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ ରେଲୱେ where it was organized. It was a program on ethics and public governance and launched as mission सत्यनिष्ठा. Okay, so ethical governance ପାଇଁ Indian Railways took the first step. Okay, so the issue of ethics, integrity, and probity in public life has been the matter of concern over all government sectors. Okay, so this mission Satyanishta aims to sensitize all railway employees about the need to adhere to good ethics, maintain high standards of integrity at work. Okay, so what are the objectives? Train employees to understand the need and values of ethics in public governance, deal with ethical dilemma and public governance. Okay, help understand policies of Indian Railway, ethical integrity. Okay, so develop inner governance, so tapping inner resources. Okay, so this is এটা তুমি জানি current affair ଥିଲା. Mission Satyanishta was a program launched by Indian Railways to promote ethics in governance. Okay. Okay. So this will be the last question for today. Promotion and development of micro and small enterprise by supporting them in marketing of products produced and services rendered by them comes under which policy of Government of India? Okay. So production and development of micro and small enterprise ଦେଇଛି. Okay. Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana Uday policy. This was done to address the indebtedness of the Indian Discoms. So this is not related to micro and small enterprise. Public procurement to make in India policy. This sounds like a probable option. Skill India policy deals with skilling. Mission Andhra deals with immunization. So this will be the answer. Okay, public procurement. Okay, so এটা common sense ରୁ କରି ହବ. Okay, about micro and small enterprise. Okay, public procurement preference to make in India. The mission Indradhanush ଉପରେ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ଦେଖିଦବ. Okay, mission Indradhanush, it is targeted towards children that have been left or dropped out of regular vaccination dose. Okay, it is run under universal immunization programs. ଏଥିରେ 12ଟା vaccine preventable disease ଅଛି, out of which 11 diseases are dealt with nationally and one disease is dealt with in states that are where it is endemic. Okay, that one disease is the Japanese encephalitis. बाकी 11टा disease हेले तमरो diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, measles, rubella, childhood TB, hepatitis B, meningitis and pneumonia. Okay, influenza type B, rotavirus, diarrhea, pneumococcal pneumonia. Okay, so these तादर मिशन इंद्रधनुष रे 12टा वैक्सीन प्रिवेंटेबल डिजीज कवर कराइछि. तादर 11टा डिजीज समस्त की दिया हुए आ गोटे डिजीज जोटा कि जापानीज एन्सेफेलाइटिस वैक्सीनेशन इज प्रोवाइडेड in those states where the disease is endemic only. Okay, so I think this was for today. We'll deal with the rest of the questions in the next class.